What's happening, everybody? It's your man Dame DNYDC. It's two mics up. It was a brand new episode Monday night, and man, today's guest, man, special guest. You know, when we talk about entrepreneurship, leaders in our community, and when I say leader, we're talking about leadership comes in many different ways. But today we're talking about thought leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and bring to the other mic today's guest, Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson. Shawn, how you doing today, brother?
Oh, man, I'm going good, dude. What's happening?
Hey, man, look, I'm blessed. We're here today talking, man. I'm really excited. We had met a while back, and we've been trying to make this connection. So I'm glad we finally were able to make that connection to get you on today, man. And before we get into all your work and your depth, brother, I have to ask, who is Shawn Nicholson?
Oh, wow, man. That's a loaded question, because you get so many different titles and accolades and things like that. But man, I'm just real, man. I'm just trying to leave a legacy, build generational wealth and impact as many people as I can along the way. That's really it, man. Nothing big. That's all I'm trying to do.
And see, that's one of the things that I think, not even I think I know when we first met, that gravitated me towards you is the humbleness, remaining humble and really grounded in your space, not getting too big with all the accolades and everything. But where do you find, or where do you think that attribute really comes from? Because so many of us, man, we want to pat ourselves on the back, look
Sure.
at me, look at what I'm doing. And I relate to that, like I said, because I find myself, I think I'm very humble. But I'm curious to know for you, like, where does that groundedness come from?
Well, I mean, really, for real, I had great parents. I mean, that's the bottom line. I had great parents. They raised me right. I come from good stock, and then there's also my faith. My background. I've learned not to think no more highly of myself than I ought to think, which tells me I should think something of myself.
Right.
But you got to be humbled in this thing, man, because I can't be above everyone else trying to do what I'm doing. I got to get down in the trenches, roll my sleeves up, really get grimy with it. Right. So I can make sure that I'm doing, and I'm level set. I keep level setting myself by doing that.
I love that, man. And I hope people really listen, because it's important along this journey and through these levels of success that you attain. Because we want everybody to reach their maximum success, but you have to stay grounded. You have to have that humbleness, along the way. Because, what's the story? Once you're on the way to the top, you pass so many people, but, on the way down, you're going to see those same people. And it may not be as nice on the way down.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What are the things, Shawn, you do, man? Like after talking to you and really digging in, you're a thought leader. And I had to sit down and really start looking at, because it's different, just in the thought leadership role. But can you talk about that, to our audience, man, and really kind of give us some explanation what that looks like? Like, how did you develop that? Where did all of this come from?
So, I mean, the textbook answer to that is basically, a person whose views are taken to be authoritative or influential. I mean, that's the textbook definition of it. But when it's also applied to industry as well. So it could be a thought leader in industry. It could be a thought leader in different sectors and all. But what I like to look at it more so as a thought leader as really being a person that is able to deliver an authentic, genuine content, that's based on my expertise, my insight, my experiences, and everything that I have accomplished along the way. That is where I kind of frame the whole thought leader part of.
So you mentioned some of the things along the way, and I don't want to guess, but I want to ask, like, are those some of the things that maybe got you motivated, like some of your, let's say, life experiences, work experiences, and how did you really because and this really is like a multiple part question for me.
Sure.
Because I want to know, it seems like all of these played into the thought leadership,
Yeah.
becoming a coach,
Yeah.
becoming a speaker and author. Like, kind of talk about how that develops, because I think some of us don't really realize how you can really grow all of those things or nurture all of those things.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think the biggest thing is that I have been, so I'm a third generation contractor,
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur on both sides of my families. Everybody really just kept it low, kept it small, kept it local and things. But my mindset has never really been that. I've
Mm.
always wanted to grow and to amplify and to replicate everything that I'm doing. So I started entrepreneurship officially in 1998. Now, I've
Okay.
always done some form of entrepreneurship. I mean, I was the paper boy. I was cutting grass. I was, shoveling snow. I
Right.
was trying to make that bread. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but now, but as things went along, I had a trade. So
Mm.
my foundation comes from my vocational experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the ironic thing about it, I'm a carpenter by trade. So
Oh,
my
wow.
father's a carpenter, has been doing it well over 50 years. He doesn't do it much now, but I learned the trade at
Wow.
age 12.
Mm.
And who knew that not only would I be building buildings and houses and decks and all this stuff, but I also would be building people's lives. Who knew?
Wow. I really love it, because that's an aspect that we've talked about here on the show, but that's an aspect that's really going away. So many of us, everybody's not built for college, right? We get
Right,
that.
right.
But I also say that everyone, we as a community, we're more than athletes and artists and rappers and different things. And you touched on something that's really important, though, the vocational
Yeah,
trade.
yeah,
And it seems like that's fallen away from so many of our high school programs and programs where people in the community could just go ahead and learn a trade. And I like how you use that, because if somebody's listening, I think it's important that if school's not for you, go ahead and find a trade. Because I mean,
yeah,
we're being
yeah.
replaced, or a lot of jobs now are being automated, and
Right.
we're being replaced. But there are still a lot of jobs out there that you can go and find, that you can still use a trade and a skill set to be successful. But it can also then, like you just said, though, bleed or blend into so many other avenues that you can write about, you can talk about, you
Yeah.
can share about. And one of the things that, and I'm saying all of this because, ladies and gentlemen, when I first met Dr. Nicholson, you were working on a program, if I remember correctly, I
Yeah.
believe. And so could you talk about that? Because I think that's a really dope program, man. I mean, I was
Thank you.
fascinated by it. Yeah.
So I created it's a leadership development program, but it's specifically for young people.
Mm,
I've so you touched on something as far as the vocational trade, and it's kind of gotten away from everyone.
hmm.
However, it is coming back. It is
Okay.
coming back, and I'm a very big advocate for the CTE programs, which are the
Okay.
career technical educational programs. Because
Right.
what we have found out, as you had said, everybody's not cut out for a 4-year college experience right now.
Right.
See, I want to say
Yep.
right now. It doesn't mean
Agreed.
that it won't never happen, but right
Agreed.
now.
Hmm.
I couldn't stand school. That was the last place I wanted to be. And I wasn't a bad student.
Right.
I just could I didn't like it. I didn't like
Right.
it. And for those that follow me and will be hearing things now, because I'm more so exposing some of the things. I'm a high school dropout.
Mm.
Straight up. Went
Hmm.
back, I went back, got my GED, but I always had a trade. So
Right.
everything that I have accomplished has gone back to the trade. Now, since that
Mm.
time, I've gone to undergrad and got all this stuff,
Right.
but my foundation was that. So
Hmm.
what I saw is that it is moving a lot away from the traditional educational platform. So I wanted to be able to go into the middle schools and high schools to teach a leadership development, to kind of reemphasize and secure these small skills and critical thinking and time management and all of these other things that come along with these soft skills that we find out in the workplace that people are lacking.
Mm.
So I wanted to
Yep.
go back to the 7th, 8th graders, the 10th and 11th, and we created a hybrid program. And I'm telling you, it was a success. This was the first year that we did it.
Wow.
I had 180 students. I
Wow.
visit them once a month in Arkansas,
Okay.
Osceola, Arkansas. I didn't even know there was such thing, but it's about an hour outside of Memphis, Tennessee. and it was just phenomenal, just phenomenal.
Wow.
They really gravitated, more so the 7th and 8th graders really embraced what we were doing. 10th and 11th grade, only because of society and the stigma on certain things. I think they were a little bit reluctant in pushing back, and basically, they're trying to get on up out of there. But the 7th and 8th graders, the great thing about that, I get to follow them
in their journey.
Exactly. So we're constantly dropping seeds and making sure that we're building them up, lifting them up, reinforcing things that's already in them, because that's what it's about. Our children, man, they just need someone that they can trust, that will look at them as they are, right? And understand. A lot of what we do is built in trauma-informed care. We ask the question, not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you.
What happened to you? Yep. Man, I love that, man. And I hope to see that, because that's the type of program that we really need to see, nationwide, in my opinion, and I hope, this continues to be a successful one, and we can use this as a pilot, man, because I think it's really important that level of work of what you're doing, you should be commended. And I thank you for doing it, and I'm glad we're able to share it here on the show. I also asked too, like with that, because, with that type of preparation, also, being an entrepreneur and a speaker and author, how do you really go about preparing a lot of your materials? Like, a lot of your topics, I know they probably come, from within and through experience, but what other factors do you tie in, or when you're trying to deliver a message, let's say, how do you go? What is it, maybe a day or a week or a month look like when you're preparing for an event?
Wow. So, I'm a big preparer, if you will. I'm organized. I plan. I guess that's the best way to do it. I plan everything out, but everything is a teachable moment, right?
Yeah.
So I can be riding down the street and see something happen, and I'm like, okay, what can I get out of that? To make sure that it's a teachable. My parental grandfather, who I never met, he passed when my father was actually 13, but he used to say that, if you learn one new thing every day, by the end of the year, you have learned 365 things, right? And that's what I do every day. I try to learn one new thing every day. And that gives me my content. Obviously, the experience that I've had, I've ran multiple companies and throughout the years. I've nonprofit, for-profit, I've experienced a lot. I've seen a lot. I've worked in the housing projects, the bricks, as some of us call it.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I've been in that. I've been in the suburbs, and I've been in the mansions. So I have a pretty good worldview. I've been overseas. So it's like all of these different things make up experiences, and you get to talk to so many different people and understand how they do what they do. Yeah. My biggest thing, I'm a sponge. I soak everything up. I'm listening when you don't think I'm listening, right?
Yep.
And I'm always researching. And so this is how I'm able to have a good sense of whatever that subject matter is, because I study. I mentioned I didn't like school, but now I can't get enough of it.
You ain't got to tell me, man. Look, I think I'm not gonna say I was a big proponent of school, but I enjoy school, certain aspects of it anyway. And being a political science major, reading was always something and still is something that I enjoy doing. And I think it ties in, like when you're doing something such as a podcast and things of that nature, you really have to read up on every guest. You really have to do your due diligence. We're not gonna put out here some BS. We're not doing that. And I love that fact. Being a preparer, and this goes across everything I think you do in life. Being prepared for things in life, and reading is a huge part of that. But being a sponge, listening, I used to have family tell me, the reason why you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. It's twice as hard to listen, before you spew something out of your mouth. And listening is free. So, I like to absorb what you can from your surroundings and the things that you hear. And I'm the same way. Even though you might think I'm not listening, I'm hearing everything that you're saying. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to step away. We're going to take a pause for the cause, and we're going to be right back after the break. But we're going to continue this amazing conversation. We're going to talk about books. We're going to talk about how Dr. Shawn Nicholson has got into his little author hat.
I know, right?
Hey, man, look, you're doing big things, brother. So look here, ladies and gentlemen, don't go away. Like I said, we'll be right back after this short pause for the cause from our sponsors. We'll be right
Okay.
back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's your man Dang the NYDC. We back fresh out the break, sitting here rocking with Dr. Shawn Nicholson, entrepreneur, thought leader, speaker, and author. And we're gonna talk about the work that he's been putting in as an author. We could talk about some books here. I think like we talked about before, reading is important. But let's read
Right.
some of Dr. Shawn's books, ladies and gentlemen. So look, Shawn, two amazing pieces of work that I know that I've seen.
Okay.
And I want to go out and definitely purchase now because I want to support. But if you could, like the first one that I came across and I want to talk about, if you could talk about to us about, teach me how to pivot. Because I think it's important. We came out of the pandemic and so many of us as business owners, entrepreneurs, whatever, we weren't really ready. We didn't know how to shift and pivot. But I want to hear more about how you came up across that and how do you use that piece of perspective to help others pivot.
Right. Well, teach me how to pivot is definitely, it's kind of like a catchy title. And you from up top, so that's Dougie Fresh, and when the song came out, teach me how to Dougie, and he's going around saying that I'm the originator, all this. So it's kind of like a little play on that. But in 2020, the word pivot became the word of the year.
Sure did.
Right, the word of the year. And pivot is basically, it's being able to swing or to shift or to adapt, right? And so a lot of times when you think about it, you think about ships and mechanical things as far as pivoting and all. But in business, the word really became a new buzzword. It's like everybody's pivoting, especially with COVID-19. What do we do now? We've been through the Great Depression, and we've been through the Great Recession, and we've been through all of these different things, and now we have a global pandemic. Now what? Now the great thing about that, it level set everyone. Everyone was impacted by that. Everyone was impacted. So we were able to come up with the book, Teach Me How to Pivot, which is actually an acronym. So it's planning, innovation, vision outweigh threats. That's what pivot is, right?
Okay.
So in order to pivot from any type of crisis, whether it be death, whether it be a global pandemic, a recession, whether it be retirement, whether it be failure to plan for succession, and whatever it is, you got to be able to pivot. And how do you do that? By planning, right? You got to plan. You got to be able to be innovative, right? Creative. Right. You got to have a vision. You got to have a vision. And then you have to make sure that all of those things outweigh the threats that we come up with. Well, what are the threats? Well, inflation, people having to stay locked in and hunkered down, and they couldn't come out. How do I do that? I may have had a thriving retail business at a storefront, but now nobody's coming in the store. So now I have to create a way to pivot. So now that I can turn it into an e-commerce store, and then now it would be direct shipping, and I don't have to worry about the inventory. So things of that nature. So that's how we end up coming up with the concept of pivot and teach me how to pivot.
Man, first of all, I'm blown away because the more you talk about, I read this is it's not just a entrepreneur. This is a life thing. This is a full circle life pivot, and I think that's important because, like I said, I'm thinking of so many things. Like you said, death, loss, personal, and all of these things. Really, you do have to. It is just bigger, because originally when I was looking at it, I was reading, and I'm just going to be, I was reading and looking through it from a pandemic
Yeah.
standpoint.
Yeah.
But
Right.
now that, I think that's important, because then this is really a tool.
Absolutely.
Really, and was that the intent? When you,
Always.
okay, okay,
Always.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. See, as I teach,
Mm-hmm.
or as I learn, I teach,
Mm-hmm.
so that's how it is. And I don't covet anything, if
Mm.
I have it, I'm giving it, because I know it was hard for me.
Right,
I said,
right.
I mentioned I started my first official company in 98. I didn't really have help. I
Mm.
had some people on the sidelines cheering me on, but there was lack of resources.
Right.
I was forced into it. Right. I was
Mm.
a contractor for one of the local cities in the state, and they kind of messed their grant up. So there goes my consulting agreement with them.
Mm.
Right. And so
Right.
I had to really pivot
Mm-hmm.
into that situation. But because I had business acumen, I was able to go back to some of my former employers and
Right.
set up contracts that lasted me literally 3 years
Right.
before I even push play. So
Mm.
you got to be able to plan. You got to be
Right.
innovative. You got to
Right.
have a vision. And if you
Right.
have all of those, they'll outweigh any threats that may come your way.
Man, whew, that's dope, man. Look, we're gonna make sure we put all that information in notes. Y'all got to go out and get it. This is a life transformation pivot.
It really is.
It
It
really
can be
is.
applied to anything. It can be
Right.
applied to anything. I mean, for me, it's business, but it's also life too.
Yeah.
Because I'm going through some things now with trying to push some stuff around, and I'm literally having to go back and read my books. I mean, seriously.
No,
I'm going chapter by chapter. It's like, wait a minute.
and that's the part that I hope that people, are watching this or hearing it, that they really understand, and I think it's important, because no matter, and like we said earlier, no matter how far you go along, you're still going to be faced with challenges, right? And you're going to come across
Absolutely,
it.
yeah.
And sometimes you need that. If you're not in that pivot, that planning and innovative, if you're not ready for that, at least you have now a resource. And I think
Right.
it's important to have a resource that you can go to that can give you some guidance. Like you said, because a lot of times
Yeah.
we don't have that guidance. It's not in our neighborhoods. That's not handed down or passed down sometimes. So to have
No,
this resource is
it's not.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so you also have another book, Shawn, that's very interesting.
Mm.
And I'm going to go ahead and let you talk. I'm going to let you talk about it, introduce it, because I like it, but I really want to know more about this one,
All
because
right.
I got the pivot, but I want to know about this one.
All right, bet. So this is my baby. This is my first manuscript, right?
Okay.
And it's called Pass I On,
Mm-hmm.
and basically it's a play on the word passion,
Mm-hmm.
which I own the trademark to that.
Okay.
But being extremely passionate, me, of the things that I do, regardless of what it is.
Right.
But business has really been something that has I've been really, really passionate about. I grew a company from 98 all the way to 2010 and literally almost lost everything because
Wow.
of the recession. When the real estate bubble burst and all that. I mean, it was construction and real estate development. That was my world. So everything that made me money literally stopped.
Wow.
And I was devastated, man. I mean, devastated. And that's when I had to kind of take a pause back, and I ended up going back to school. But I was probably depressed, man, literally 3
Wow.
years, because
Wow.
I'm a goal oriented person. And my
Mm-hmm.
goal was by the time I got 40, I was going to make my first million, right? That
Mm-hmm.
was the goal. So
Right.
I had to shut everything down at 38, and I was right there, and I'm like, oh my God. So we lost so much stuff. So I started thinking, later on, I was like, man, I got to share this, because I don't want other people to have to go through the same things that I went through. I used to tell people that I know how to make money in a thriving economy.
Right.
I can do it just as good as anyone else.
Right.
But I didn't know how to make it in a recession, largely because I wasn't old enough, really.
Mm.
And I hadn't experienced things. But there was one thing. I told you I'm a reader. I read John Rockefeller.
Mm-hmm.
The history of John Rockefeller, and how that right at the beginning, middle of the Great Depression, he tried to get money and stuff to build the center in New York, and couldn't borrow of anything. So he ended up using his own money. Right.
Right.
And now it is like, I mean, talk about generational
Generational wealth.
wealth, but it was birthed literally in the Great Depression. So I was like, okay, well, I don't necessarily have the resources to give everyone, but what I do have is the experience. And experience, they say, is the best teacher, but it ain't always got to be your experience to learn from it.
That's right.
So that's how it initiated, and because of my background as a builder, as I said, that's where the pass I on the 7 building blocks to sustainability and success. So it's kind of a pun on those words, and each one of those building blocks means something.
Well, I look forward to it. I can't wait. Continue success and everything that you're doing with your books,
Appreciate
your
it.
mentoring, your leadership, the podcast. But before we go, I also want to allow you, Shawn, to take a moment and share your social media with our audience. We want to make sure we get our audience to go ahead out and support and check you out.
Well, since mine is so simple, I'm gonna say it real quick, and if you allow me, I got one little thing that I want to share.
Sure.
Is Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson. That's it. That's what it is. As simple as that. Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson. That will be on the IG and TikTok. It's on Facebook. It's on LinkedIn. That's how you find me right there. But because of the 2 books that we wrote, I wanted to do more. So we're getting ready to launch what I call the Pivot to Passion Academy. So I've taken both books and I'm showing people how that they can pivot to their passions, so whatever it is that's stopping them from doing the things that they really want to do, we had a 5-step formula that will be able to help them pivot to their passion. So that starts out on Q3, and all the information is on my profile. So if you go to the bio, you'll see all the information. And lastly, I got another book coming out. So by the end of the month, I got my other book that is for my faith-based people. So this one is going to be, this is going to be good here. So I'm excited about that. But we do have another book that we're dropping at the end of the month, and basically the name of the book is walking by faith. That's what it is. That's my whole journey, brother. Walking by faith, and it's walking by faith. Do you see what I'm saying? Walking by faith, trusting God's guidance every step of the way. Yeah,
I love it, man. Look, ladies and gentlemen, look, it doesn't get any better than this. Another episode of 2 Mics Up. Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson.
Appreciate it. Man.
It's been a pleasure, man. Finally glad to have you come here, man. Rock with me on the platform.
Thank you.
Look, it's been another great episode of 2 Mics Up, ladies and gentlemen. You know how we do every Monday night. Season 5, Mogul TV Global Network. Check us out, 8 p.m. You can check me out Fridays, man. I drop a business corner, trying to go ahead and give you some business tips, networking tips, just to help improve yourself. So check that out. You can also follow me. I'm your host, Dame DNYDC, across our social media, Dame DNYDC, IG, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also, don't forget, follow 2 Mics Up as well across social media, IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at 2 Mics Up. And you know how we do, ladies and gentlemen, at this time. I just want to ask you to stay safe, stay blessed. Mics Up.